The pressure is building. The top Canadian banks said, nah, we are done with this net zero UN BS. Yes, TD, CIBC, BMO all said bye-bye to Carney's UN banking initiative, trying to get all the world's banks on the same page of fighting climate change. Top Canadian banks quit global climate coalition ahead of Trump inauguration. 4 of Canada's biggest lenders said on Friday they are withdrawing from a global banking sector climate coalition, joining 6 major U.S. banks. The departures from the Net Zero Banking Alliance began with Goldman Sachs' announcement on December 6th and come ahead of Donald Trump's return to the White House next week. Trump has been critical of efforts by governments to prescribe climate change policies. The 4 Canadian banks are TD Bank, Bank of Montreal, National Bank of Canada, and Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC. The other U.S. banks that have withdrawn are Wells Fargo, Citi, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, and JP Morgan. The Net Banking Alliance, a UN-sponsored initiative set up by former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney, was launched in 2021 to encourage financial institutions to limit the effects of climate change and push toward achieving net zero emissions. The Canadian banks said in separate statements that they were equipped to work outside the alliance and develop their own climate strategies, saying, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to do things on our own. This right here is what we call the Donald Trump effect. Obviously, here in Canada, we're feeling the direct effect of that at the moment as we are staring down the barrel of some tariffs. But the big banks are saying, yeah, but Trump has talked about wanting to drill, baby, drill. He's talked about trying to get oil going again. He's talked about having cleaner forms of energy to then export it to the world. Those are things he's talked about. Instead of this whole green initiative where you try to gut and tear apart the West's economies in order to fight climate change, or more so, it's just a plan to completely undermine the integrity of our countries. That's what it is. And it is wild to see, the Goldman Sachs, JP Morgans of the world saying no, but now the big Canadian banks here are saying we're not being a part of it either, which is a pretty big statement to make, considering that we are seeing Mark Carney leading the way to maybe lead the Liberals, the guy who led that whole coalition. They're saying, yeah, I know that there's a potential, there's an outside chance that you could be prime minister of this country, and we don't care. We fear Donald Trump a lot more than we fear you. Which is a huge statement made to the establishment and to the World Economic Forum. Net Zero Banking Initiative, bank-led and UN-convened, the Net Zero Banking Alliance is a group of leading global banks committed to aligning their lending, investment, and capital markets activities with net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So that's the UN Net Zero Banking Alliance website, and that's what they claim they're doing. The big things they were looking to do is we will work responsibly with our clients and our customers to encourage sustainable practices and enable economic activities that create shared prosperity for current and future generations. What that is ESG, environmental, social, governance. There are these ESG scores that were going out for different companies, and that was going to be the new way of what companies are aligning with the green initiatives. That was the measure for it, ESG. So virtually looking to transition the whole banking system to coerce and change people's investment practices and essentially funnel money into the companies that they want you to funnel money into. They claim to have this whole ESG score all thought out, and it's just a better way to really see who aligns with your goals and with your morals. But then the question is, who's setting up the ESG scores? And it turns out that those who set the ESG scores are the companies themselves. But it's overseen by third parties, such as MSCI and Sustainalytics. And who's MSCI? Morgan Stanley Capital International Services. So yes, the billionaire globalists are the ones who are overseeing the ESG scores. They all have their hands in these companies. So they get to dictate who has the high ESG score and who doesn't. There's no transparency on their scores. There's no transparency on how it's run. It's just, you gotta trust me, bro. That's how it's set up. And Mark Carney, big part of this UN-led coalition, was leading all the banks down this path of all implementing ESG and allowing ESG to be the thing that dictates people's investment strategies. Which again, the ESG system is so easily manipulated that they can just decide which companies have high ESG and have all the banks encourage their customers to invest in these different companies, meaning extra moolah for those at the top. This is all a system to enrich the billionaires. This net zero initiative is a program, an idea that Mark Carney so much believes in so deeply that he put out this video not too long ago.
You demanded action, and now it's time for the financial sector to deliver. To reach net zero, every country, every company, every bank, every investor, every pension fund around the world will need to make some big changes. In the run-up to COP26 in Glasgow, we have an enormous opportunity to bring climate change into the heart of every financial decision. And our plan will manage the risks from climate change while helping to seize the opportunities from a newer, greener economy. The UK has been at the forefront of innovation for centuries, brimming with ingenuity and a can-do spirit. It also houses the world's largest financial system. And by bringing them together, we can deliver the net zero world that you've demanded and that our future generations deserve. The world's coming to Glasgow. Let's reshape finance for a sustainable world.
Let's reshape finance for a more sustainable world. You demanded it, you asked for it, so we're going to give it to you. No, we asked for more sustainable solutions. We've asked for more ways to try to clean up our climate, not completely gut us and put us into poverty in the name of climate change. We didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for these billionaires to see this as an opportunity to screw over the little man. We didn't ask for that. We asked for true solutions to help us clean our air, clean our world, but not with this Green New Deal UN-led initiative where its only goal is to punish people and put them into poverty. We didn't ask for that, but I know that's what you want so that you can get rich. There's a reason why 6 of the 7 G7 leaders are no longer with us, because they're the ones who are pushing these policies that people are saying, we don't want that. So you tell us, Mark Carney, this is what you demand, this is what you asked for. No, clearly, based on the voting stats, this is not what people asked for. And considering how Trump got voted in with a resounding majority, this should tell you that, no, we don't want this, and we will fight you on it every step of the way. And the more you push, the more that we'll push back. And that's why I love to shout out Michael Barrett and Michelle Rumpel-Garner for calling out Mark Carney's complicity and double standard when it comes to climate change and how it aligns with his business interests. We'll pick it up in the second paragraph. When you're employed as chair of Brookfield Asset Management just a few days after your official appointment as chair of the leader's task force on economic growth, it was reported that Brookfield Asset Management was actively lobbying the same federal Liberal government you were advising for $10 billion from Canadian taxpayers. As chair of Brookfield Asset Management, you advocated for heat pump subsidies while serving as an advisor to the Prime Minister in the Liberal government. Brookfield owns HomeServe, a heat pump company that stood to benefit financially from these policy changes. You were on the board of Stripe Inc., a $65 billion multinational payment processing and lending business that falls under federal regulations. Recently, Stripe came under scrutiny in Canada for failing to pass along savings and a voluntary reduction on interchange fees to small businesses from Visa and MasterCard. Unanswered questions remain about why the federal government didn't take precautions to ensure these savings weren't absorbed by companies like Stripe. Your various global positions, including serving on the Global Advisory Board of PIMCO, which manages $1.8 trillion in assets, and working with foreign sovereign wealth funds, you also served as chairman of Bloomberg LP, a major private corporation with what could be described as opaque corporate reporting. Michael Barrett's post and accompanying with this says, Carbon Tax Carney must reveal how much he's profited from major corporations while advising the Liberals. He said all of the money and all of the power, it's time for accountability. And that is exactly the question that we are all having, at least those who are paying attention. The Liberals are going to liberal. Their voters are going to vote. They just want who will ever help them feel good about their lives. As we saw this past week with Carney's various interviews, the left is going to left. This is going to happen. They're going to vote for him no matter what. They just want someone who makes them feel good. They don't really care about the past. They don't really care about what is behind this guy. But the moderates do. And the conservatives, it's important for you to get out and vote when that time comes. Go out and have an impact, because if he gets in and he beats Freeland for the leadership, it is not an election that you can take for granted. I'll tell you that straight up. Seeing how moderate people are reacting, I've had 4 conversations this past week in groups of people talking about Carney. And these are all just moderates, don't really pay attention to politics, all really leaning towards him. They want to vote for him because he makes them feel good, makes them feel like he gives them a sense of normalcy, even though it's a complete charade. So this is why you have to go into election anticipating that it will be a dogfight, because it won't be easy if he gets leadership. And we know all the stuff that's behind him. And I love the conservatives are calling it out. And we look forward to seeing if an answer comes of it. And Canada Proud did a good job here bringing up an old video from March of 2021 of Poilievre putting the gears to Carney, calling out, again, his double standards for securing pipelines in other countries, but saying countries like Canada can't have them.
Support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney.
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it is sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank
issues,
you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters. It matters,
Okay.
and this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is a fundamental. You're finally getting to a point.
You've exceeded
that
the
is
time.
relevant to this committee's inquiry.
What you're saying is you oppose pipelines in
pathway.
Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
There are specific.
That's your double
pipelines.
Standard.
It is not a double standard.
It is a double standard.
No, it's not.
You make billions of dollars off foreign pipelines, and you shut them down here at home, putting our people out of work.
That you are a representative of the Canadian people, and one of your responsibilities, including at this committee,
is to fight for Canadian jobs,
and
not foreign jobs like you.
Exactly, to fight for Canadian jobs, and the types of Canadian jobs that are durable and are going to move forward.
Right.
I grew up in Alberta. I know the innovative nature of that.
Well, go try to give that answer back in Alberta, because I grew up there too, and I can tell you the people. I can tell you the people of Alberta would be ashamed with the answer you just gave. That you would give billions of dollars to foreign pipelines while not allowing Canadians to build pipelines here at home. That is the kind of elite Davos hypocrisy.
Could I please,
Madam Chair, this is really unbecoming of a member to badger any witness.
And this obviously goes on for quite some time. But it was nice to see, again, this is back from 2021. If any of you are having any questions about if Pierre's the real deal, I've been one of those. Just go back and watch videos like this and listen to Pierre's tone, his facial expression, for when he really digs into Carney for killing pipelines here in Canada, but then funding them overseas. Like, look at this. He has such disdain in his voice and disdain for Carney. He's just disgusted by him, especially when he says, go back to Alberta and give that answer and see how that goes for you. I'm from Alberta too. And you could tell the frustration of Poilievre's voice. And then to call out the Davos elite in that call shows to me that as much as I'm not going to align on Pierre on everything, but that's called politics. You're not going to 100% align with somebody. But if he's going to come that hard at the WEF on a committee call, that gives me some hope and some encouragement, especially when we're staring down the face of someone like this, potentially leading the Liberal Party, a smarter version of Justin Trudeau. And last but not least, we have the Liberals, who really had a gotcha moment here with Poilievre, trying to link him to Trump yet again.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, whose policies echo Trump's.
Stop crime, secure borders, rearm our forces, restore our freedom, and put Canada first.
Well, it sounds a lot like Donald Trump.
That sounds so much like Donald Trump, I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump wrote it. Coincidence?
I don't think it's a coincidence at all.
Again, trying to link him to Trump, fair enough. But also, there's a theme going across the world right now. All voting in leaders who want to put their countries first, and rather than putting globalism first. And this is how they gaslight you. You've had these people in power, whether it be Biden down states, we've had Trudeau up here, and governments across the Western world who've been putting globalization first and gutting their countries in the process. So of course, people are saying, we're done with this. And we're moving forward. So naturally, the parties that are replacing those people in power are all going to have very similar messaging, because guess what? I don't know. All of these left-wing globalists had the exact same agenda they're trying to push in their countries. So of course, you're going to have the exact same pushback from the other side, naturally. That's looking too much in the weeds, though. That's looking too much in the details of what's happening. Because regular people are going to be like, yeah, maybe the liberals are right. Fascism's on the rise across the world. Yeah, they're right. It's just not coming from the place that they think it's coming from. But it's good to see some pushback here in Canada. Banks saying, nah, we're done with that. And now it's going to be on us as the people to say, nah, we're done with it too. Have yourselves a great Saturday. I'm out.